Dust off that desk, grab that favorite pen. Where's the trace? It's time to sketch for Inktober October. Let's get into it. Welcome to What the RFI. I'm Matt Brennan, and this is the podcast all about CA. And today, I'm returned with a special guest, Nathan Taylor. Now, last time, Nathan, you were on the show, it was at CSI. And you're not going this year, right?
No, double booked. I'm actually presenting in AI East Bay. They have a waterproofing symposium that'll be presenting the week before. So just a little bit
Nice.
heavy on the presentation times and other conferences.
Yeah, no, and fair enough. Hey, but it's all good. And today we're trying things a little different. This is live on LinkedIn. This is the first time we've done a live show in this kind of manner. You know, last time I ran a show, we were on the AI Aspire stage, which was incredible, a lot of fun. We had a live audience, but we didn't go live to the mainstream. So we're going to try this out and see how it is. We're going to come to questions later and see if actually anyone's actually working on a Saturday. But you know, we'll cover those questions if there's anything in that. So we've got so much to cover. It's been been a long time since you and I've reconnected. I know we're talking, week by week and everything, but doing a show together, it's been a while. So one, I'm thrilled to do this one. I'm very thrilled to get into what we need to talk about. But before we get into that, for the ones that don't know you, Nathan, little intro. Who are you? What's your background?
My name is Nathan Taylor. I am a building envelope consultant. Currently work for ECS Limited. New company. It was just our older company merged together with them, so we're now a much larger group. For the most part, we are doing, or my part at work will be construction administration, on-site work, forensics investigations, a little bit of peer review, and a little bit of site safety.
Nice. And this episode is all about sketching, which I really like. And is something that you're really, really passionate about? And that's what we're going to get into and dive right into it. And the big question is, what is Inktober architecture? I know we're a little bit late because we're, a few days into October already, but in high level, what is Inktober architecture?
Yeah, so Inktober was started a while back by some artists. They put out a list of prompts for every day in October, uh, a prompt to get you started, and you do a drawing every day. It was, I believe, begun as an ink thing, but it's any medium at this point. I kind of took that and adapted it to architecture, so Inktober architecture. And the idea was to create a prompt list where people could get a head start, a little bit of inspiration, and start sharing their drawings, whether it be hand drawn or computer or markers, pencils. That wasn't the big point. It was to get people back to drawing again and to sharing it, being able to inspire each other, learn from each other, and just use visual communication. So for like the last, I think this is the fifth year that we've been doing it. It's been growing pretty steadily. Last year we had 9 different countries and just shy of 500 people participate, which was pretty good. This year we're only a couple days in so far, but we already have 3 different countries. We have a firm in France that's participating for a second year in a row, which has been good. A lot of people from Puerto Rico, which has been great. And then across the U.S. and hopefully we can pick up some Canadians here too if we're lucky. But yeah, we got a little list goes out on social media. It's all over Instagram and LinkedIn at this point. Shared on Facebook as well, and trying to get people to take a look and jump right in and share their drawings.
And it is such an incredible thing. And like, when so back, going back 5 years when this all came up, and yeah, like I said, start with the tattoo industry and that stuff, and you saw it, what sparked that interest? Going, hey, I want to do this on the architectural side. Like, where walk me through that idea, walk through the audience through that.
Yeah, so I had actually participated in the kind of the art side of it for a while living in China even, and it was just really fun to see a bunch of people sharing artwork and then the different variances. Like if you have a prompt for a single day, um, just everybody takes that differently. They all have their own ideas about how to make that into a drawing. Um, For example, the first one for Inktober this year for us was a napkin sketch. Well,
Mm,
the obvious thing for an architect is to sketch out something on a napkin. But what do you sketch on it? Do you do a building section? Do you do a window? Or are you trying to do a conceptual idea like you would when you share it with a client over a napkin
yeah.
sketch? Or in some cases, we had somebody last year for the napkin sketch prompt literally do a charcoal drawing of a stack of napkins, which was hilarious. So
Wow.
everybody takes it differently. They have large napkins where they folded the whole thing out and like gone crazy with markers on it.
Yeah.
Mine
Yeah.
happened to be a blue jay this year, but on a napkin. So
Yeah.
whatever it happens to be, we're just looking for some creative insight and something to share with everybody else. Again, inspiring people to get drawing again, using their hands and using the brain to put things down on paper.
Yeah. 100%. And like, why should architects care about drawing? Like, why, because we're in a digital age, right? We can use Revit. What's your take on that?
No, I do enjoy digital stuff as well. There will always be something about analog and doing it by hand.
Hmm.
There's a connection between the hand-eye coordination. It's all going through your brain. So it really helps you learn things when you're drawing by hand. I do know a lot of people who are drawing on tablet now, trying to get the same effect. It's not something I've really grasped onto yet. I still like a traditional sketchbook, but it's that transfer of thought through your hands and using your eyes to kind of learn as you're creating something. It's kind of like I had somebody describe it as if you're drawing the exterior of a building, you're trying to understand how water's going to flow over a roof and a facade or a gable. And if you think of it in your mind as like the rain literally falls onto the roof and then it travels down the slope of that roof and it gets to the edge and either goes over the edge to a lower roof or into a gutter, and then that's going to move differently at a different angle, possibly a different slope, and it's going to flow along the side of the building, and it needs to be outboard of insulation and waterproofing, and you have your siding or cladding of whatever type. And the thought pattern of following that water is basically what you do with a pencil when you're drawing that exterior line around a building and trying to gather that. So, I mean, even in at Aspire, you had one of your guests on stage there talking about live sketching with a bunch of architects. Like that's
Hmm.
exactly what you want to do: is get outside, see actual conditions, draw them, figure out how they're put together. Because in the architecture and construction industry, you go out and you look at something, you're all automatically thinking like, how did they build that? How's that actually put together?
Yeah.
And from a drawing aspect, that helps you like better understand and retain that idea of how something's put together.
And they even had an actual dedicated sketching workshop at Aspire, and unfortunately, there was so many good classes, so I couldn't necessarily get into there and take part. But yeah, I heard a lot of amazing things. And like you said, there was the live sketcher as they were doing the main keynote, and he was kind of drawing things what was hearing here from his visual, and that's exactly kind of like what's really cool about this event that you've kind of put together. And like you said, we've got a list of prompts, and again for the audience listening, go. We'll get links in the description and all that where to go. But basically, like go to the Instagram, go to the LinkedIn, and see that and download this. Print it out, put it next to your monitor as a daily reminder. It's your calendar for the next month, and through the 2025 prompts, eh, any particular ones that you're excited about to get in? Have you already started thinking about like what are your top three out of this 20 or this 31 list?
So I do I put this up on social media pretty early. So if anybody has a busy schedule but wants to participate, knows they're not going to be able to draw every day, they can always get a head start. So it's good to do that one. This year's napkin sketch has always been one of my favorite ones, simply because it's kind of an iconic
Yep.
architecture aspect of things. I also have day 17, which is draw something from the Buildingscape Instagram page because we post building photos every day.
Oh
So being
yeah.
able to
Yeah,
pull from
that's
that's
right.
always fun. I have Coffee Sketch on here this year, which is kind of a shout out to the Coffee Sketch podcast. Also,
Uh-huh.
architects and artists get together, have coffee, and draw. Another great little thing to check in if you get have a chance. But they also are participating in Inktober with an architecture flair. So it's it's a cool community to get into,
Hmm.
and little prompts that can bring things back in and can like make people think about things a little differently. Like nobody does
Yeah.
blueprints anymore, but I have blueprint as a prompt. Like, how are you going to
Hmm.
decipher that? Are you going to actually try to create a blueprint? Are you going to draw with blue? Like, who knows? It could be anything.
Well,
It could be
exactly.
a courier with blueprints strapped to their back. I mean, it literally could be anything.
And that's the thing. Like when I was looking at these yesterday and putting the show notes together, and I was like, finish. That's kind of a, I'm a runner and everything, and I've done, half marathons and 10Ks and all that. And like, there's a finish line, but there's also something unique where you could totally, and everyone's going to think of it a little bit different. And I think that's the subjective part of this. This isn't a contest. This is just between you and you, and drawing every day and exercising that memory muscle. Getting into that and really pushing that creative side. We're going to have a whole little segment about that coming up here, but yeah, definitely. Some of these things are just, you can go so many different, like even home. Like again, everyone can go to naturally draw a home, but they can also draw outdoor forest or whatever. I don't know. Like it's pretty cool. Vintage is another fun one.
Where do you
Looking at
feel
this.
when you're home? Yeah, like vintage what? Like,
Yeah.
are you a car fanatic on the side?
Mm.
Are you looking
Yeah.
for like a really cool old drafting table from back in the day? I mean, all of these can be taken in any different way they want, which is the best part. And seeing the diversity of people's creative thoughts when you get these. I mean,
Yeah.
you say finish and you're like, oh, I'm a runner and I do this. And I'm thinking, oh, interior finishes. Like, what kind of finish? Like, what's going
Totally
on
different.
inside? Is it
Yeah.
stainless? Like, is it a cabinetry thing? Like, so in having a single word or two words there is enough to where anybody could read it any way they want. And that's the best part.
Yeah. And I think that's the really cool thing when you start. You mentioned, and I remember seeing this last year on your post, like you were posting, like again, this like full architecture out of France or whatever firm where it was, is that they had this wall plastered with everyone doing their sketches. And what a cool thing. Like, if I was in your shoes, I would be proud of that moment, because like you've started a movement and you've been, you keep it going. So anyways, kudos. Yeah, let's keep going. There's so much exciting about this. But out of this 31 list, what is your absolute favorite? Which one are you looking forward to, or have you already done it?
I have not done it yet. I am curious about what I'm going to do for movement. The last couple of years I've had movement in, and I've purposely come up with a different one each year. And they've
Yeah.
been pretty good creative changes. So figuring out how to do movement, but in a flat paper
Movement.
rendition of something,
Yeah.
is
October.
always a little bit of a challenge. But also making it creative and fun to share is a big thing. So again, how are you going to
Yeah.
decipher the word and use it in some kind of a drawing? So that'll be the one to
Exactly.
look out
Yeah.
for halfway through the month.
Movement day 18. Mark your calendar, guys. Mark your calendar, right in almost just over in the middle of the month. So the role of how in sketching in a digital age, and we kind of touched on this at the beginning, why it still matters. Heck, we've got AI, we've got BIM, parametric design, all these fun tools of it. But you kind of said right away, and I love your example, of drawing, and you're kind of like the way the water beads down and coming down on the, from the cladding and everything. You're thinking about that, and it's similar to what I had written down too. For example, like when I met Richard Nager, one of my old principals and everything, and he, like, when he really wanted us to kind of get back from being so outside in this Revit world, click, 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 you weren't understanding what you're doing. And that's exactly what I find with hand sketching and drawing. And I still do it. We had friends over last week, and I was trying to explain them to 21st learning, and when it comes to schools and K to 12, and how we did the pods and how we open all these rooms. And right away, I'm trying to explain it by words. I'm like, no, let me grab my pad of paper. And we were just sketching away and just being fluent. And I'm building this in my mind. And that's exactly what he did. Is he took a piece of paper, he started to draw this wall, and as he was drawing, he's like, everything I'm drawing, I'm building in my mind. And that's so true. And it connects you with it. And I like how you said that. It does connect you with it. And I'm old school, so yes, we had cassettes back in the day, which really CDs were my kind of jam, right? And that's when the days of Napster, and we would have all the albums, and I had this card book full of these CDs and everything. And but by putting that Finger 11 CD into the CD player in my car, that action, or same thing, taking a vinyl record and putting it onto a turntable, and hitting play, you remember that so much more because you've built a connection with that music, with that artist, and you know, just the music becomes so much more alive to you. And you know, later down the road, you're like, I remember track 8, I remember track 10. That was, oh, remember the hidden track? You know, we kept, you know, you had to listen for that extra 3 minutes. You got that bonus track that was in there. In today's world with digital, like I'll listen to the songs, I'm like, that's incredible. And yes, I can go favorite on my iPhone and stuff, but the retention of knowing it is just not the same compared to this. And I don't know, like I think that's what you're kind of saying too.
Yeah, and it's similar to other things we've talked about in the past with construction. A lot of young designers go in and they've learned how to draw a specific detail or a specific section, but then seeing that built is another learning tool. Like seeing it, how it's actually constructed is different from how it's drawn, especially if it's something that doesn't show up in section. You know, if it has to be seen in
Yeah.
ISO, where you have to be able to see it in 3 dimensions, how it's laid in. And drawing is kind of the middle ground between that. You know, if you sit down and use drawing for communication, which is what it is for architecture, but take it back to the very like the early side of it. So like conceptual design stuff, you're working through a specific area on a building or a specific detail, and you're with another person and you're going back and forth on how to do that. Nobody's going to sit there and try to describe how that's going to happen. They're going to pull out a piece of paper, a piece of sketch, and start going at it and working out things. And that's what it is. It's really just a communication tool. And that's one of
Hmm.
the reasons why I still really push for it and advocate for hand drawing so much, is because
Yeah.
you might not have a computer, you might not have the software with you might have a tablet with you. How many times do you want to hand your tablet off to a contractor to let them scribble all over it? It's just, but a piece of paper or a scrap of cardboard or a piece of plywood on the wall, a couple of Sharpies, you'll work something out really quick and it'll be perfect.
Yeah.
So being able not to create like fine art, but to communicate an idea really clearly visually, um, 10 times faster than trying to like talk it out with somebody. So,
Yeah. And that you answered my question. I was like, are you faster doing sketching versus actually drawing the computer? You know, again, there's some cool tools and all that, but you said it yourself, 10 times faster and doing it. And with that, like, you know, and again, you kind of answered my other question is, are you doing this in the field with your field reviews, you know, on site, you know, hey, there's a problem contractor, you know, and you come together, how are we going to fix this? Yeah. You know, unfortunately it was installed incorrectly, but how are we going to rectify the scenario to make it right? I'm assuming you're just grabbing that pad and paper, like you said, that piece of cardboard, whatever you can get your hands on and doing it right
yeah,
there.
I I always have drawing stuff with me, if not two, possibly three different notepads of some kind. I mean, I travel with
Mhm.
my travel notepad for my own sketches and Inktober and anything else in there, but I have another tablet that's just for working out things on site with people. Again, it's
Yeah.
a constant communication thing. I haven't been to a site where something hasn't needed to be visually worked out. And it's also kind of the language barrier as well, or I guess it's the way to bridge any language barrier. Um, if I'm on site, my Spanish is horrible. But if I need to work with a contractor who speaks mostly Spanish, we both draw the same way. Like visually,
Hmm.
it's going to
Yep.
mean the same thing to us. And right away, we can work through that pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
I've leaned on that tool quite a bit, and it's been great.
Are you taking those sketches and actually put them in your field reports?
Sometimes I will
Yeah.
also work through like rough sketches on site so that everybody's there
Hmm.
working together and to formulate it, and then refine them better when we get back into the office if need be, and put that into an RFI
Yeah.
response so that it's formalized. But yeah, I mean that is the goal. You want to keep a good record of what's going on, and this is basically a conversation piece. This is how it was worked out. You know, here's a photo. You take a photo. You have it with you now, and then when I get back to the office, I'm gonna formalize this and put it in my response. But yeah, I don't know if the cardboard sketch would be in the report, but certainly a
You can
refined one
try.
once back in the office it would be.
Yeah, you know, it would be, yeah, it would be kind of cool in that sense of taking that, or even of putting it into an SI and be like, this is what we sketched, this is it. You know, it's pretty clear to me. And yes, at some point you would have to follow up with the as builts and get that into the architectural and mechanical drawings, whatever the case is, and proceed with it. But you know, I know a lot of engineers, like structural engineers, will do that. They'll just have a couple blank pages. They'll actually physically sketch, you know, the beams and everything, the welds, and just boom, and that's it. And it's a legit thing, right? Whether it's more clean lines and out of a Revit program or whatever the case is, but it's still a document. You're still giving clear direction based on that sketch. Yes, it may not be to scale, but again, I would imagine with your kind of familiar with the hand sketching, you probably are to scale. Like, do you find that when you're drawing floor plans and details like that, if you actually took a scale to it, could you be bang on?
You probably get pretty close with I don't
Yeah,
know about bang on, but it's pretty close, I would say. Again, you get used to certain things too. Like if you have something adjacent in your sketch that's scalable, if
yeah,
we have a door, then you already know the size of the door. Everything next to it can be pretty close to where it needs to be.
yeah.
One of the other good things with this though is just from a forensic aspect, or going in and looking at conditions that are already built, being able to see, well, something's not the same as the as-built, or sketching out specific conditions, or,
Hmm.
I have a wall with a ton of mechanical penetrations, and just trying to map those out as well, being able to pull something out, sketch that out, show where things are so that I can take it back and start adding measurements to it. It's not me marking up a photo. I actually have,
Yeah,
measurements and sketches about the different types of penetrations, conduits, pipes, whatever else is coming through a curtain wall, or the wall of some kind of mechanical penthouse. Like being able to capture that pretty quickly in paper is another really good visualization tool. It's also something I
yeah,
can hand off to somebody else pretty quickly. So if I've mapped these
yeah.
out and put dimensions on it, and I can hand it to somebody to draft while I start doing something else, they can add it
Right,
to a markup or an as build as needed.
right. And yeah, and you read about like with it myself and the floor plans, and I roll my trace over it. Once I kind of draw that first door and that little wall, I don't know, my mind kind of automatically sets, okay, this is the scale we're drawing. So when I start drawing doors, I'm not drawing them as like a 2 foot door, or, a 4 or 5 foot door. You know what I mean? You get into that consistent because you've kind of somehow you've just configured your mind to be at it, which is really cool. I think it's really cool in that sense. So you get used to it, 100%. Well, we're going to get into like kind of the tools of the trade and everything later down the road here. But let's talk about this community and social media aspect, because again, it's one thing to go to the prompts, draw it. And that's fantastic. Take great gratitude in just what you did, right? Own it, right? And enjoy it. And that you're physically, consistently stretching that memory muscle, which is really, really, really important, right? Don't lose it. It was an interesting. I was listening to it was a podcast and everything, and it was about AI, and of course, everyone's talking about AI, and yeah, it was Simon Sinek. That's what it was, and it was really cool because, like, again, I'm dating myself. I had that Rolodex, right? I had that thing where you put, you had the phone book in that hard, kind of flip up thing where you put it to the M and then you push the button and boom, it pops up and there's all the M's, right? You'd be calling up. And as a kid, like I had that for my friends and everything, but I always had that muscle memory. I could call. I would be at friends' place and be like, "Hey, let's call the gang." We had like 30 core people that we just hung out all the time with, and I'm like, and I would rattle off phone numbers, and my friends would be like, "How do you know this?" I'm like, "I don't know. It doesn't matter. It just we're good. We can get everyone to get together." The moment that flip phone came out into our world, and then of course iPhones, remembering, I can barely remember. I know my number, thank goodness, but I don't know anyone's number because it's just, you just go up, okay, call Nathan, boom, call Julia, cool, call whoever. And we've let that go. And that's kind of the same thing with the sketching is like, keep doing it, keep going it, keep strengthening that muscle. If you stop going to the gym, 2, 3, 4, 5, even 8 weeks, that muscle starts to stop and it starts to deteriorate. And if you stop it, it's 1,000 times harder to get back on track. There's my soapbox moment for this show, but I know you can kind of
No,
share the
I
same kind of thing.
completely agree. So again, dating ourselves, I never got to do blueprints per se. We did
Mm,
hand drafting, and then I took a break between undergrad and grad. And in that time, the world blew up and everything was BIM. I think
mm-hmm.
I came in at the beginning of CAD, and then it, by the time I got back into design and architecture again, it had skipped that and was in like 3D everything. It was like Rhino was already coming out and Grasshopper and everything else.
Yeah,
So it was like a
yeah,
whole, I missed the big chunk of this. But when we did our hand drafting courses, like way back in the beginning, we're doing lettering still and everything else. And one of the line weight issues that we kept getting Like
Hmm.
having a pencil that you're able to literally roll on your fingers and rotate so that the line didn't change shape as the lead deformed. Like you wanted
Hmm.
to, you'd have a long straight line that was perfectly uniform. And like you're
Yeah.
talking about muscle memory, it's that same thing. Learning how to roll that pencil
Yeah.
that was like muscle memory too. Like after a while, it's like what you do when you pull your pencil.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the same thing now with drawing. I think it's one of those skills that, like you said, if you continue to use it, it always gets better and better. But if you're not using it, you're going to forget some of it. But it's
Hmm.
something that you can use all the time in everyday life.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, totally.
simply like putting notes together and making them a little more visual, adding things to it,
Yeah.
arrows, people, whatever you need to do. Um, leaving messages for my kids in their lunchbox or, whatever, like things like that.
Awesome.
There's so
Awesome.
many different ways that you're going to use something visual. But
Yeah.
I also do think that it's a really core important learning tool from the aspect that you do think
Yeah.
about things completely differently when you're drawing them.
Yeah.
You're not losing that disconnect, or you don't have that disconnect from a computer where you're not directly interfacing with what you're using. You're going through this mouse and through a screen. Um,
Yeah.
you know, with pen and ink or a sketchbook and pencil, or you're actually pulling something across that paper. You're making something visually directly in front of you that you are building through your mind as you see it and putting it into practice with the movement of your
Yeah.
hand. And that retention is going to be there for a lot more things. You're going to think about what you're building on that piece of paper completely differently than you will if you're pulling a line across the screen and
Yeah.
clicking yes kind of thing. So I will always be an advocate for hand drawing for sure. But I also really do push for people to, in the office, even like working through something, pull this out. Let's have a sketch. We'll figure it out. And I've been very, very pleasantly surprised that usually even people who are very much on the computer are happy to do that and get a big kick out of it still. So,
Yeah. And I love your comment about lunch. No, yeah, I do similar things too and everything. And one of the things, been doing it for quite some time now, but before I go for a conference, I pull out a pad of paper and here's me being cheesy, romantic and everything, but I write a love letter and everything to Julie, my, special, significant other here. And I go and hide it somewhere, where she'll find it in the morning and when I'm on the plane and that kind of stuff. But it's again, it's the same thing. Doing it by hand, writing a handwritten letter. And it was the last time you got a handwritten letter in that sense, and the impacts that it's just a different thing, and it just goes back to that muscle memory because everyone's typing again, trying to put that in that process, and it's a different world. So we totally went on a side tangent, which was awesome because I think there's a lot of moments from that point right there. So let's get into the audience is probably going, how do I get involved in this? So this is where first off, where can they go find this list, Nathan? What do they tag and what do they do? How do they
easiest one,
participate in this?
yeah. Oh, just to start drawing. You don't have to share it with me, but I'm happy to look at it if you do. No, if you want to see the prompt list, the easiest place is probably on Instagram. Just building
Yeah.
escape, all one word. It's posted on there. You might have to flash back a couple days, but every day the new prompt will be up with whatever sketch I'm posting as well. You can also
Nice.
look at LinkedIn. I'm posting daily there, and in the comment section, I'll have the whole prompt list on each one. So if you need to go find it there, it's an easy way to look at it. Um, I do post on Facebook as well, but I'm not on there as much, and it's more family and friends than anything else. But I would say Instagram, definitely. Also, if you do jump
Yeah.
on Instagram, feel free to click on the little bio link and link trees. We do have a blog set up with some written articles, a lot of which are about drawing. So feel free to jump on there as well. But yeah, it's the easiest way to do it. If you do hashtag or at uh, Buildingscape and Inktober Architecture, I can find them a lot easier. I do
Yeah.
try to go and look at all these. I take screenshots. I like to post and say thank you for people who do these things. Again, last year having so many, we actually put together a little screen share video of all the different people who had
Nice.
participated. We had
Yeah.
firms. from different countries participating. So it was really cool to see how many people got involved. So by all means, let me know on Instagram or LinkedIn that you're doing this, and I'll definitely like chime in, say hi, and thank you, and take a look at whatever you're drawing. Be happy to take a look at it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. By all means.
So great crap. Recap here. Go to Instagram, download this, like I said, print it, have it somewhere. You can look at it daily. Jump on, do your sketch. If you're feeling good, confident, and you want to share and be part of the whole community, post it on your favorite platform. Hashtag Buildingscape, hashtag InktoberArchitecture. And I think, I really encourage listeners to do that because, you want them to be part of this, right? And like, not only that you're doing it for yourself, but then like you said, look at the others, individuals doing the work. Like pull up Inktober Architecture hashtag, and you'll see everyone that's doing this and be part of this community, be part of this movement of this hand sketch. And again, you're just competing with yourself. It's not a competition. It's just doing it and enjoying it. And in either this year or previous years, is there a standout sketch that you remember someone doing and based on the prompt and everything and going, oh my goodness, that's going to stick with me for life?
Oh man,
You've seen a lot.
there actually have been a bunch. Yeah, so trying to pinpoint one specifically might be more difficult, but situationally, there's been a couple of really fun ones. Every time that I've had a firm participate together, where they'll post and
Hmm.
they'll have like their wall in their conference room with everybody's sketches, like day one, day two. Phenomenal. Love seeing that. There have
Yeah,
been a handful of architects who have done these with their kids. And so they'll post theirs and their kids. And that's always fun. I love seeing that too. My son has
that is cool.
participated a couple of times. And it's really cool to see him like try to work out in his mind. He's like, oh, dad's an architect. I should do something about a building. And there will be like a prompt that has nothing really to do about architecture. And he'll try to figure out how to make it into a building. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's using his mind to be creative. So like
Yeah.
those are the ones that really stand out. I do get a big kick out of the people who are really pushing hard to do every day, which is a hard ask.
Nice.
It's a lot of drawing. I mean, 31 days in the
Yeah.
month and not only making the time to do it, but then like trying to be creative and come up with something new that's interesting. The few people who have pulled that off, huge props, like amazing stuff.
Nice.
But also just anybody who's sharing. I love that you're giving a little bit of inspiration to other people. And again, these don't have to be works of art. They're like short
Yeah.
sketches. But the fact that you took the time, made a sketch, shared it, you probably inspired somebody else to at least like sit down and try to work something out in paper. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, like, I really encourage the ones that are doing it. Yeah, totally post it. Cause like you said, they're friends, their network. And then just the bigger the movement it becomes, like, it just becomes a cool thing. And again, it's just not a competition. It's just enjoying it. And so here's, ones that are on the fence, right? How can we provide some inspiration, break through some of the barriers? And I think always the one you hear from time to time is like, Nathan, I can't draw. What would you say to someone like that? So,
Yeah.
I'm not a good drawer. I'm not a good sketcher. I don't really do it. Like, what would
I,
you say?
the, one of the best reasons we start with napkin sketch, right? It's not even a nice piece of paper. If you mess up, I
Mm,
promise there's another napkin somewhere around here. The idea being like it doesn't matter, you know. If you put ink on a napkin, it's gonna like bleed out really quick and it's gonna be messy. It doesn't have to be perfect or even look
yeah.
great. It's that you're leading your way into it. And you know how many architects really do still draw by hand? Like I'm not looking for like really push hard on people, but I just want you to break loose and have some fun. So they don't have to be perfect. They don't
Hmm.
have to be like works of art by any means. Um, I'm happy to see people doing it. So
Yeah.
again, if my kid can participate, then great. Everybody can. Yeah, quality. I have fun. That's what it's about. It's not about making an artwork. You're not trying to sell this. A napkin sketch is not going to be framed on the wall,
Yeah.
probably. So yeah, just go out, enjoy yourself, really. And again, if you don't feel confident about it, you don't have to share, but at least take the time, sketch something out, and enjoy yourself.
Well, even like with sketching, right? I think, now you got the wheels turning in my own mind. And like, yeah, when we would do kind of first schematic design, right? We wouldn't be in Revit. We would have the trace. We'd just start, pulling out examples, doing bubble diagrams where we want spaces within it. And once we kind of identified, then we started drawing the really rough, sketch boxes for a school or whatever. And this is where we're going to have a learning stairs. Oh, this would be cool if we do some pockets and cubbies. And you're doing that. And, my key advice when you are doing this, all the architectural firms is take a photo of this stuff, right? Record a mini video, put it, this is the story, what happened with this building from the start, where it all began, right? With the coffee on the table, even that spilt coffee around the stains, get the people in there that were part of this inspiration in bringing this building to what was just sketches to look what we built. What did we do as a team, right? And I think that's really important. And a lot of architects miss that, right? They just throw their sketches out. It's like, hold on, let's document this, because this is fantastic stuff to put on a website. Again, social media, like as we're talking about this event, but showing that story, especially when you go to like community engagement sessions, and it's people really appreciate that this came from nothing to an idea, actually putting some that pen. And again, it's messy. And I think that's what we appreciate. We don't want to be perfect, right? We want the more natural aspect to it. So again, if you're in that boat where I don't feel my drawings are good enough, just post it. Just post it. You ever had someone tell me that's a horrible drawing, Nathan?
Oh yeah, I've
Really?
framed a
Someone told
couple
you
of
that
horrible
drawing's
drawings.
horrible?
That's the best part. So,
Oh,
well, the best part is I worked for kind of I guess green design startup in China for a short period of time, and they had some really big ideas. And during one of the sit down lunches with my boss, he and I basically did a napkin sketch. I think we actually used a piece of like A4 or something, but we drew out a bunch of crazy stuff on there, and it was nothing more than a working sketch of a bunch of different ideas. We had Chinese and English written on it. Like I think we had a
nice.
Sharpie and a couple of different pencils or something. So ended up um, that project that we were talking about kind of got put to the side, and we got busy with other stuff, and we were doing modular green walls for office spaces and stuff like that. And sure enough, I came into his office to have a meeting at one point, and that sketch was framed, hanging in the corner of the office. And I didn't even know he kept the thing. I
Mhm.
kind of perked up and looked at it. He's like, "Yeah, that'll come back to me later. That project's on hold or whatever, but something's going to happen with that." And I'm like, "You
Yeah.
framed that?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, that's a good memory." And I'm like, "All right." And there was nothing good quality about that other than the
Yeah.
fact that it was a little squiggle of shared ideas that definitely got us both thinking about a bunch of stuff. And it was really cool that he took the time to like put that up somewhere. And it's kind of like your parents hanging something on your fridge. Really meant something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, that's now you're sparking another memory and everything. There was something I did. We were just learning perspectives in high school, right? And that 1 point perspective, and I did a kitchen, the overall kitchen, and I think I got like 9 or 10 or 10 or whatever. It was really well done in that sense. And of course, my from that sketch, I still have it. I know it's in one of my kind of storage boxes, and I should pull it out. But my grandma was and she's no longer here and everything, but she just loved it, and she got it laminated and put it on the fridge, and it lived there for life. And I think that's the cool thing about this stuff is the longevity, that how it can live out there, because it's so fantastic, because it's so raw, and it's the real talent with it.
I
With
have a
drawing
shelf
this, do
full
you?
of old sketchbooks.
That's awesome, and so you should,
There's
right? Like
probably
it's
30
cool.
on there.
Well, even like think of art class back in high school. Like I still got my books that I did, and it's kind of cool to go look what I did back then. It's like why am I not as good as? Because again, I was doing it every day compared to now. I'm busy, and it's like maybe that's a New Year resolution goal to say, look, sketch every day, or sketch every once a week or something into a book. And I don't know, but you got a favorite pen that you like? Is there one that you're like, oh, this is the one. This is what gets me from from good to great.
Yeah, I guess. So I do like microns. So here,
Yeah,
let me get, I got a
I think
stack of
I've got
these.
mine here too.
So say, yeah, so like microns, I
Oh,
really like.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of I've got
Suborder
the
microns.
Uniball
Yeah,
one. That's if anyone's looking on
there you
the
go.
watching the web or the YouTube channel. But yeah,
And then
The Uniball Vision Fine. That's my favorite one.
uh,
but there is a
I've been
different
using a
one.
lot of Statlers also recently,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
these are for
yeah, very
like
nice.
fine line work kind of thing. A Sharpie is still one of my go-to.
Hmm.
I've also tried
Yeah.
really hard recently to like break it up. I'm creature of habit. I'll pencil something and then ink it. And if you want something to be more spontaneous and like enjoyable, like that's not what you should be doing. You should just have at it and go.
Hmm.
So like a
Yeah.
Sharpie on a napkin where it's going to bleed a little bit is a great way to start an idea. So I've been trying to do that. I've also got a hold of some white paint pens, which have been really fun. So like you're
Okay.
on a brown napkin with a white pen, changes things up a little bit. So we've been trying to break out of the mold and just do some kind of free form, go at it and just get an idea
Yeah.
down instead of being really picky and meticulous and detailed, which is that's what I
Yeah.
do. Trying to pick apart a drawing and put all the details in it. Sometimes you need to break loose and do something different. So that's what I've really been
Yeah.
trying to do on my Inktober stuff. Actually, has been trying to break loose a little bit with it.
Nice. Very cool. So, because digital's here and everyone's got iPads and everything, I've got my own iPad and I've never purchased like the iPad Pro, like the big one and stuff like that. But have you played with the digital side of things? Like, have you sketched with the Apple Pencil or Samsung tablet or whatever? Do you kind of like that? Or is it always, nope, I'm going back to Trace, I'm going back to napkin, I'm going back to that stuff?
So yeah, I still I'm a diehard sketchbook person. I
Yeah.
have played with a tablet and an Apple Pen. They're not bad. It's not that I don't like it. I'm sure the more if I did it, I'd probably get more used to it. Um, Back in the day, I used to have the bamboo like tablet
Hmm. Yeah.
where you draw on the tablet and it would come up on your screen. So I guess that was my intro into trying to move more digital. Always enjoyed uh, drawing in Photoshop, like scanning in drawings and then adding and changing to them and
Hmm.
stuff as well.
Yeah.
Did a lot of work with that early on. Um, on a tablet, like Morpholio Trace is really good, so you can
Yes.
start
Thank
playing
you for
with those
bringing
kind
that
of
one up.
things.
Yeah.
I would I would like to jump in a little more and learn that, but it's a whole nother time. Like
Yeah.
how much time do you really
Morpholio
have? I
is
can always
fun.
pull out a
It's,
sketchbook.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't usually carry a tablet with me. So if I start carrying one, I might have to make the jump and do a little bit of both that way. I'll definitely post on
Yeah.
social media when I do it, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I know it's yeah, I've done a lot like Morpholio Trace. That's a really cool app because like it's really retro. Like the controls haven't changed over the last, almost I think it's been out for a decade and everything. But yeah, it's cool how you can just change like you basically have your sketch and then you can layer and layer and layer and basically put new traces on top of each other and change their opacity and that kind of stuff. And it's a digital piece of trace, basically what it is. And they do it really well. And then you can load in blocks and kind of put that. And yeah, I've seen some amazing work. Like people spend hours on it. But again, I'm like you. I rather pick up something solid that I can touch, feel, and draw and see the bleed naturally. It doesn't matter how much they program it. Yes, you can make it look very similar, but it's just different when you're doing it yourself. And like you said, rolling the pen, rolling the pencil. So hands down, no, that's really cool. And yeah, I was curious about that. Being this on a LinkedIn, we do have comments, and I'm going to see. Let me just jump down here. I'm going to bring them up. So, Christopher Bennett, congrats on the first live show. Inktober, awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. Jamie Morris, Sketchly definitely helps your better understanding an existing condition in the field. Absolutely, 100%. I don't know. You want to add anything to that, Nathan?
No, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'd love to see your sketches. By all means, share, please.
Yeah. And then we got two comments from Dawn and Rickard. I just ran across this Rambly and just dropping in. Oh, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. You can't design without train of thought of sketching, hands down. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree, and I think that's all the comments there. So again, not bad for a first online LinkedIn, and I think for like going forward, we'll start really investing in doing this. As like when we do these guest shows and stuff like that. I think it's kind of fun. So, anyways, let's get back to the show, and that was just a fun little thing to try out. So diving into architecture, culture, and play. All right. Um, how fun challenges like this can balance the serious side of architecture. What do you that kind of that opening line, how would you respond to that, Nathan?
Very much the truth. I mean, just think of most people in the architecture industry are probably overworked. It's a pretty high stress run. Everybody's working a little overtime. Unfortunately, early on in college, we're doing late nights and studio time and everything else. So you're already kind of wound up and on edge. So having something on the side that you're able to break loose from that's going to give you a little bit of pleasure and enjoyment that's
Yeah,
still creative is great. And that's one of the reasons why drawing is great. You can take it with you, it's a small little sketchbook. You can do it anywhere. You can change up the tools and have a little bit of variety with it as well. But it's a great release, and it's a good way to spend just a little bit of time to take something out of you, put it somewhere else, help you feel better and cleaned up and
yeah.
calm down. So yeah,
Do you find, so say for on site, right? And there's a problem, the geothermal or the mechanical engineer or mechanical subtrade he put the lines in the wrong location. And this isn't just oops, I'll just move it over. It's like, oh my goodness, this has been weeks of work or something. Tensions is high. People are frustrated. People are angry. Finger pointing is about to start. You find sketching almost stops and just kind of like in that crazy tornado, that hurricane at that moment, and just kind of says, okay, stop. Let's look at this. And just the moment you start sketching, you find that that tones down and it just, you know, call this, I don't know what you want to call this, but where it brings people to this, brings them together and it brings them that kind of calmness.
I think that let's use it as a distraction technique. So,
Hmm.
it's say you're running a plumbing or utility line and there's an obstruction. You know you're going to have to move it somewhere else. There's something on the site that nobody knew about. We've had projects recently that have had similar problems. Um, Everybody's scrambling. We have deadlines. You know, excavation needs to happen now. We're supposed to be putting a hardscape over this in the next week. Pulling out a site plan, throwing trace over it, or just an extra copy of a site plan, large format, where everybody can lean over it on a table and start putting different colors into it. Like, can we run it this way? Can you drop it a foot and a half and do it this direction? Working through it in that way. Nobody's focusing on each other or what happened or whose fault for not noting this previously. Everybody's looking at that drawing. And it turns into not so much a what went wrong, but how we fix it, which is always a better way to start that conversation. It should always be about making it right and making it do what it's supposed to do. Um, might not be the same plan you had before, but it's much better to look at it from a corrective standpoint than have everybody really angry about, oh, the deadline, you're not going to make it. And, oh, it's a budget thing. And, well, let's work through this first and see if there's an easier way to do this. And then we'll talk about implications with budget and things like that. So yeah, if everybody can kind of lean down and focus their energy on something that's happened on a piece of paper, it almost always goes a lot smoother afterwards in the discussion when it comes to the harder things like budgeting and uh, schedule changes and things like that. So yeah, definitely try to break out your paper when you can.
I love it. That was well said. And do you, one thing I've been wanting, and I didn't know where to ask the question, but are you, besides architecture, and I know you're sketching it for this month, but throughout the year, are you just, again, going camping and throwing out your sketchbook and sketching, that scene or just that thought or that, you have a crazy dream, maybe? I don't know. But are you sketching just generally
Yeah, no,
throughout the
I
year?
draw a lot. So for
Nice.
work, of course, doing that quite a bit.
Yep.
But also just carrying out sketchbooks. It's like the go-to way to relax in the evening. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
drawing all the time.
Awesome.
I would say that I
Any paint?
basically carry one everywhere I'm going.
Yeah.
Painting, some, not as much. Trying to encourage my daughter. She likes to paint. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, no, a little bit of watercolor, a lot of markers, a lot of ink. I have a sculpture background, but I don't have a place to do that so much.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different when you're
Yep.
trying to do molds and pour hot metal at your house. It doesn't really work. So,
Oh, that's, okay.
but yeah,
Yep.
no, I try to stay creative as much as possible. It's my way of relaxing and trying to kind of calm down after long days.
That's awesome. No, word is wisdom right there for sure. Absolutely. So we got to wrap this up. We're coming pretty close to the hour and everything. The big thing is, of course, where can people find you and where can they find, again, just reiterate, where can they find this Inktober architecture?
So definitely check us out on Instagram. It's probably the one we're going to be at the most. If you are looking for a little bit more contextual things, by all means, go to buildingscape.wordpress.com. That'll have connections to everything else as well, but it'll have the blog on there. It'll have a backstory of how this all started. When I started posting, daily architecture photos online, and then by all means, check us out on LinkedIn. It's just me personally. I don't have a page for Buildingscape on LinkedIn, though you'll see a lot of stuff posted there. We do post quite a bit, and by all means, reach out if you want to connect or if you want to drop a comment on something. We'd love to hear your opinions on things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for that. And any kind of final words to challenge our audience to take part in this amazing event? What would be, again, if you had to sum her up, I just met you for the first time in the elevator, your elevator pitch, what would be it? What would that look like?
Go out and just hashtag and search Inktober or Inktober architecture and to see the creative craziness that comes in. And huge caliber differences of quality and you know professionalism. I mean, again, I have a bunch of kids that are doing this too, so you're going to see a bunch of different stuff. But just get inspired. Look at all the wildness that these people think up. It's really really cool to see people come together on like daily prompts and topics and just start sketching stuff. And some of them are amazing, and some of them make you think. And if you go out and just search those hashtags, you're already on the way. But also, if you're able to share it, by all means, you will likely inspire somebody else. So share your drawings, working sketches. Like you said, something you get working through a detail or a conceptual idea or a space planning issue or a diagram of some kind, share those things online by all means. It shows the fact that you're able to conceptually think of something off your computer screen, that you're using your brain, you're putting things on paper. Um, Me personally, I would love to see them. So if they pop up on my feed, I will definitely comment on them, I promise.
Awesome. Well, heck, I'm inspired. No excuses. I gotta get sketching, take part of it. We're at the fourth today, so yeah, definitely. I'm a couple days behind, but you know what? There's always time to catch up and do it. So, thank you for putting this together, Nathan. Thanks for coming back on the show for a second round. This is awesome, and it won't be the last, of course. Next show will probably be us together live at some kind of conference, or heck, I just got to come down to your neck of the woods in California. It's tough times down there, and surfing year round. Can't complain.
Let's do it.
But let's do it, absolutely. And heck, we can sketch at the same time, but do a live cast then. But thank you for being part of this. This was awesome, and yeah, looking for the next one, and looking forward to seeing everyone's sketches going forward from today. After kind of hearing about this episode. So, with that said, architects and sketchers, keep designing those blueprints, and contractors keep making them reality. We'll see you on the next one.